Okay, so after you've got your sculpt as far as you can reasonably take it, which is about here. Remember, you're not going to be sculpting a super detailed model with this. Not super detailed, not super accurate. The goal is really to just kind of block out the majority of the forms to help give you a guide to model over in a more detailed and more controlled way. If this were ZBrush or Mudbox, you could take the model much further, but since it's Maya, the tools they're basic, so there's no point in taking it any further than just a basic level of modeling. So to model on top of this, we're going to do a process called remeshing, and this is, if you were using Mudbox or ZBrush or 3D Coat, you would also do this remeshing process. It's very important to do remeshing because as you can see, this model is very dense and it's not very efficient, right? So we've got all these polygons all over here, but like, in the lips, like there's not that many. The polygons are stretched out. In the eyes, they don't follow the form very well. So if you were to try to animate this character, it would be very heavy, and you would not get very good results because the topology is not suited to deform. So we need to make a better topology that captures the form of the model as well as the function, so that the geometry can move efficiently. And to do that, we're going to build a new efficient polygon model over this one. So to start, we need to make this surface live. So if you select your model and you go up to the top here where you have all these little magnets, these are all different snapping options. The very last one, I'll hover my cursor over it so you can see it's called Make the Selected Object Live. When we do that, that will let us basically draw polygons or curves or whatever on that surface. So once it's live, we'll select this quad draw. That's in the poly modeling toolkit, and if you don't know where the poly modeling toolkit is, it's in Mesh Tools, and Mesh Tools, Show Modeling Toolkit. It's the very first option up here. If it's already shown, it will say Hide. So we'll select Quad Draw, and Quad Draw is a pretty complex tool. It's a very good tool, but it's got a lot of functionality built into one interface. And so there's a lot of keyboard and mouse shortcuts. If you press this little fly down, it will tell you what they all are. So it's very good to keep this open while you're working when you're getting used to the quad draw tool. The other thing is I want to turn symmetry on as well. Symmetry is off. Let's turn it on to World X. So I like to start when I'm retopologizing a model or remeshing it. I like to make very big initial decisions. So I'm going to basically just have three polygons going across the forehead here. These are just little points I'm drawing, little polygon vertices. And once I've placed those, I can press the Shift key in here, and it will find the 4 nearest points from, it'll basically assume that your cursor is the center point of a polygon and find the 4 closest points to make a ordered polygon out of those points. So with Shift press, I'm just going to click once, move over to the next polygon, and click again. That's one way of making geometry with quad draw. So another way is I'm going to pull these edges out and build off the edges of the polygon. So I'm going to press Tab, and you see that it changes to get the little extend there. I select this edge, and I drag it out, and it just makes another polygon. Do it for the next edge, and it automatically snapped it right next to each other. So while I'm in quad draw, it's automatically connecting my polygons together. Now, I see that this isn't really, these 2 polygons are not capturing the roundness of this form. I'm not going to address that yet. I want to get the basic structure of my alien's head laid down in its entirety before I start going in and really refining the form. Otherwise, it gets kind of chaotic to work with, and you wind up making a much denser mesh. And you'll see a lot of people on YouTube, they'll watch videos on this, and there's a lot of people that go right into that, and that's fine, that works for them. I prefer to keep a simple mesh as much as I can till I get the whole structure defined and add complexity. I always find it's easier to add complexity than to remove it. And then once again, I'm just going to go ahead and, instead of trying to drag those points down, just make some more. Press Shift. More points. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to continue this all the way down to the neck. And remember, I'm actually focusing on getting this to a point where all the geometry is there. I'm going to kind of ignore the details like the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Oh, I shouldn't say details, but features. Those aren't really details. Those are major features, but we're going to ignore them. It's always easier to add complexity than it is to take it away. Go just right about here. Alright, so now I need to start thinking about bringing this line down here too. I'm going to drop a point in there and see what kind of... Oh, that's not too bad. It's not bad at all. You see how quick this is going? By just keeping it simple at the outset. Aha. I'm actually going to need another edge. So, fortunately, PolyDraw has this covered there. So this edge over here, I'm looking, and they won't line up, right? So if I try to make a quad here, it's gonna do this, which, like, actually, I'm going to think about doing this. That creates an edge loop structure that I kind of like. Come back where... So if you just see how you kind of move your cursor around, you can get different preview options for what it's going to do to the geometry. And that kind of, doing that, you see how this goes around here? So if I go ahead, and I'm pressing Control, by the way, to get the edge split tool here. You see how it draws this edge loop to go around the eye socket and then up the forehead? That's something I was going to do anyway. And since this is just kind of going to support me in that, I'm going to go with it. I'm going to need another point right here to keep the jaw articulated. Oop. We might need another edge. Or do we? Can we do the same kind of thing? I'm going to try and avoid triangles and polygons with more than 4 sides as much as I possibly can. At this point, the earlier you avoid those, the easier it is to maintain that discipline. Now, you can get away with using triangles and more than 4-sided polygons, but it's really not recommended until you know a little bit more about what you're doing. Sometimes they can give very nice effects. Sometimes they just create unnecessary pinching, but sometimes there's places you want a little bit of a pinch. Whoops, sorry. This is the tool's getting a little squirrely, and I'm actually using a tablet right now to remesh. It's very quick and easy to remesh using a tablet. I highly recommend it. Get some points in for the chin and the jaw. And we're going to need another cut right here. And that was just Control again to go ahead and make that cut. You see how fast that is? I need another one there too. Dropping the points down. This is very, very fast, very easy. This is one of my most favorite tools in Maya. And you see how these edges are forming these loop structures? This is very good. You want edge loops for organic characters. It makes it a lot easier to move them. You can overcome, you can get out of that by, if you have enough points, anything can look organic, but it's very inefficient. It's very taxing on the artists to work with. Very taxing on the riggers. It's very taxing on the modelers. It's taxing on the texture artists, having to look at, very dense UVs. So the more simple you can keep that, the better. So this is actually getting a little too dense at this point for me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to force myself to terminate the neck down here. And if you find yourself doing this and you get lost and you can't make the edge loops, back out, delete the model, and try again. Meaning not the model, not your sculpt, but the remeshed model you are making. I've got an edge up here that I actually need room for, so if you just put your cursor over a point, you can click and drag it. You can probably drag it as an edge loop too, but I didn't look to see what the hotkey for that might be. Alright, just bring these guys down a bit, and we'll terminate it. Alright, so that is the basic model for my alien. It's not done. There's a lot of work to do still, but the structure is right. The structure is there. Some of these edges are a little too close together for how early this model is, so if you press Shift, you get a relax brush, and you can just sort of brush over this, relax the edges out. Nice and easy. Just click there. And you notice when I click and add that edge loop, it goes ahead and pops it out to the extents. So it snaps to the mesh. Very clean, very easy. I'm going to go ahead and do that here too. So I'm looking at the edge loops here, and I kind of want there to be a stronger flow into the jaw, because right now we don't really have that. Right now it's very grid-like, very ordered. So I'm going to press Q to drop the quad draw tool. I'm going to go to object mode, and that will select my remesh there. If I press Control 1, I can isolate select it and look at just the head of my alien there. Go ahead and see how it's looking subdivided. So yeah, you see it's already at this early stage. You can see where this is going. I've got the structure of my sculpture there, but I have, I go back to 1. I have a much lower res and more manageable mesh to work with. So let's see right here, this edge here. I want to start spinning some of these edges around to get some better structure. Oops. Control Alt. I'm trying to remember a hotkey. Never mind. I should just show you the manual way of doing it. So I've selected that edge, and we're looking for a tool to flip spin edge. Yeah, here's spin edge backward, spin edge forward. Here's the hotkey right there, Control Alt right and Control Alt left. And by right and left they mean the arrow keys on your keyboard. So I'm going to do spin edge forward, and you see how it changed it? The edge is now spun forward. So I'm going to select that edge again, and I'm going to use the hotkey, so Control Alt left. Oh, what do you know? It's not working. That's weird. Okay, well, I'll just grab the edit mesh, pop the menu off so I have it down here so I can get to it easy. And it rotates where the edge is spinning. So I spun it this way so that let's get to go out of isolate select mode, go back to quad draw. So now you see I have an edge loop that flows, the quads flow around the jaw now. Whereas before they weren't, they were going in a grid structure. And as a nice little bonus, this is starting to pull the separation between the head and the neck. You've got kind of a sternocleidomastoid muscle there attaching the neck and the head under the skull there. So if I go ahead and just control click there, I've got a nice little edge loop. Press shift, kind of relax it all out. And you're going to need to move these around and push and pull. Let's look at these eyes now. So for eyes, get out of quad draw again. Go back to isolate select. So for the eyes, actually we'll probably need this. Alright, so I'm going to go and, nope, sorry, that won't work. Go back to a shaded view. Grab a face. So I'm going to try and circularize a lot more than I need. So I'm going to try and select those three faces. And where's that circularize tool at? Sorry about that. I don't remember where they put it. I'm sure one of you have seen it by now and are just like, it's right there. Select it. I hate it when that happens. Okay. Make a circle. Alright, well, I'll stop being lazy and just do it manually. So just go into vertex mode and tweak marquee. Kind of move these around into a little more eye-like shape. Well, that's not really doing it. I'm going to need another edge there. So grab multi-cut. Let's go ahead and do it. See, it's really starting to get a lot denser very quickly. Alright, maybe if I do face. I really want that make circle badly. Circularize. Circularize components. There it is. Whee, okay. I want more than that though. I want all the way up to here. And let's get out of that. Okay, yeah, I want to take these guys for the ride too. And yeah, that should be enough. So I'm going to press shift, right click, and there's circularize components. And where's the rotation? Go back to control 1, so I'm, oh look, I got those guys back there too. Undo. Control 1. Deselect those. Now circularize components. And just kind of untwist that. Alright, that's a good start. Now, to get these moved into place, just gonna drag the points in. Got a nice start to the eye. I need to be able to put this sculpt on a template. Go back to my layers. There we go, there's the layers. Make a new layer. Put the alien head sculpt. Add selected objects. easiest thing in the world to be able to see through. What I'm doing here. Oops. That was just isolate selecting a vertex, so oops. Got the head selected. There we go. Now this should, yeah, this is still sliding it on the surface of the head. Even though the sculpture is hidden, I'm still able to slide around on the head. Oh, look at that, symmetry broke. Isn't that wonderful? Let's take a look and see what happened there. No? Oh well, I'll fix that later. It's just a matter of deleting one side and mirroring it back to the other. That's unfortunate, but that's not unexpected either. Happens more frequently than you might imagine. It'll happen to you too. Alright. Multi-cut back out. Look at that, it didn't even symmetrize that. Alright. I'm going to fix the symmetry. Start by turning it off. Go to pick marquee. Face select. Okay, make sure I got all of them. I do. Good. Object mode. Set object mode. There we go. And then, do they have a... I hate icons. Icons just drive me crazy. You can never tell. Oh, can I actually symmetrize? Let's see here. So I've got half selected. This is new. I haven't seen this before. Select a mesh edge. There we go. Oh, cool. So that actually restored symmetry. Just follow the little prompts there, so I'll undo, and we'll walk through that. Alright, so I had my broken mesh, right? Clearly they're not symmetrical. So select one side, actually. Let's do faces. Okay, double check, goes all the way around. Alright. Select symmetrize, and then select the edge for symmetry, basically the dividing line where you want to symmetrize along. And boom. Oh, it did the wrong ones. Okay, so I want to move this side to this side. So we'll just invert the selection. Come on, what's going on here? There we go. Symmetrize. Select the other side, and there we go. Alright. How's that looking? Oh, it's starting to come together. And you could have just modeled this, tried modeling this from a box or just by drawing polygons in the viewport and gotten this far, but I don't think it would be as successful. I think sometimes it's just easier to start with a sculpt. It takes a lot of practice to get to where you can just make these in the viewport without a sculpt to work off of. It's not a bad thing to learn how to do, although it's not the way that people really work right now, but you know, you never know how things are going to change. I'm actually starting myself to see some merits to skipping the sculpting phase. I know that's heresy to a lot of people, but I actually think that there is some speed to be picked up there. Alright, so let's see if we can't get this nose in there. Symmetry is off again. Oh, that's right, I turned it off. Back to World X. There we go. Alright. So the other thing that we're going to do this time is we're going to make a mouth cavity. So let's get out of the isolate select and look and see what we got mouth-wise. Alright, let's go ahead and pump out a few more, polygons here. I really like how the quad draw draws the mesh that you're working on over the mesh you're referencing. It's very helpful. And let's see, let me just, if I press W, it's going to lose that nice little shaded view. I'll have to look and see if there's a way to keep that. That's just really helpful. It's going to be a lot easier to move this this much lower resolution version of the alien and make edits to him so that he matches the model sheet better. Because if you remember, I went very much off model making the sculpt. It can be really hard to actually keep a model, like his little jaw comes way too far out here. It'll be a lot easier to actually reel him back in than it was to just try and reel him in at the same time I'm trying to develop form with a sculpt. But yeah, that's all you do at this point basically is you're cutting and moving things around. So like for the mouth here, I've got a nice little base set up. I'm going to go ahead and extrude some faces in here. And see, they had a quick extrude. Just do an extrude face. Push it back. So we want a little bit of a cavity for the mouth. Let's go ahead and go to Isolate Select. Select the mesh you're working on. Press Control 1. There you can see it's got a little bit of a mouth. So next thing I'm going to do after that is I'm going to add an edge loop along the inside of the mouth. Oops. Why is it doing? Oh, it's doing that because of the reference mesh. Okay, so let's be aware of that. It's snapping that to the sculpture. Alright. That looks ugly, but that's just what we got right now. We're gonna deal with it. Let's see if it will let me push it back. No, it won't. Okay. So I'm gonna undo where I did that edge loop. I'm going to turn off the Make Live, which is this right here. That last magnet. Select the multi-cut, right click, and there we go. And now I'm going to make these faces a little more organic and not using... Will pick marquee keep symmetry? Yes, it will. Alright, good. Alright. So now he could actually open his mouth, should he so desire. Or rather, should I so desire, if I want to hear anything that he has to say. And I need to spin an edge here. So you see how we're getting this nice shape here, where these circles go around. We need to create something to reinforce that. So this needs to be sort of we need to get another round of edges going like that. So I'm going to do some experimentation with spinning edges forward and backward. Okay. That'll do something. So now if I were to go in here and do a multi-cut, you see, we've got edges. Now, the other thing is I need to turn it away too, because right now it's just going down here. So let's experiment. You can always unspin an edge too if you find that you made a mistake. I'm going to try this one. Okay, so now when I do the multi-cut, yep, it'll make a nice edge loop around the mouth. Alright, let's get out of Isolate Select. Press Q to drop the multi-cut. I'm going to select the sculpt, which I have to do from the outliner because I templated it on a layer. Make it live again. I'm going to select my remesh that I'm working on, hopefully. go to the sculpting tools, and I'm just going to grab the relax brush. This one will actually try to smooth things out without without changing the form too much. That's kind of nice. Okay. Once again, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. But just need to kind of hit these a little bit. Go to isolate select. Alright, see how it's looking. Ah yeah, you see how it's getting nice and ordered? If I press 3 to smooth it out. Like we're getting more and more of the form. It's looking closer to the sculpted model without near the level of resolution when I make it a subdivision surface. The mouth's going to be tricky. Alright, so you just keep going from there. I will post an update video a little bit later. Oh no, look at that. Okay, so I inadvertently blew a hole in the bow, or basically extruded some. When I did his mouth, I grabbed the faces on the back. Whoops, my bad. So I'm just going to delete these. Show you what a non-issue this is. So I'm deleting the inset faces and the support faces, those things that make the little edge. Just delete those. Press Ctrl 1. Get out of isolate select. Go to quad draw. That's 5. Sorry, I was in. That was 7. So that was like I had lighting applied, and then 5 is the default lighting. And now that I'm in quad draw, I just press Shift inside each polygon, and problem no more. So that was annoying, but it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't a big deal at all, in fact. Would have been better if it never happened, but you know, whatever. Back to pick marquee. Okay, so I need to circularize this right here. And oh, there it is, circularize. I knew it. You guys are probably laughing. I'd laugh too. Couldn't see it for the life of me though. Just the way Maya presents the information. Okay, so I've got that face that I circularized. And now I'm going to extrude it. And then size that extrusion to closer match the ear. In fact, let's move it first. Will it let me? Yes, it will let me. Alright, there we go. Alright. Now take this guy, extrude, and oops. Sorry, I'm just going to undo that. Back to that, isolate, select, extrude. Where's it giving? I need the inset choices. There we go. Alright, it'll take a lot more massaging to get that to match the ear. I'll just go to quad draw for that and start moving the points around to kind of match. Just grab an edge. Alright, so actually let's make that the inside of the ear. Get those way down in there. And now I'll make another ring like that. That will be the outside of the ear. Another one like that. Now I'll move some of those points around. Make another little control edge. Alright, got a quad draw. Let's go see how that looks in isolate select as a sub D. Not too bad. Getting a little bit of a weird edge there right now. I'm going to leave it for now. It might turn out okay. But I've got his ear. Okay, let's turn off make live again. Isolate select. back to a polygon. Going to extrude that again. Pull that in, and then push it inwards. And give it a couple more edges so it doesn't get too soft too quickly. Yeah, it's a little hard. So we need to basically back some of those edges off each other. So basically the closer edges are to each other, the harder of an edge it makes. That just moved the whole model. Be very careful when you're working with the tweak marquee mode, and if you're in object mode you will move your model and it will no longer be centered, and you will lose symmetry if it's world symmetry. So watch out for that. Okay, so I could try working with this in this smooth model with N3, but it really exaggerates how far you pull things. So I'll show you. I'm just kind of making it look kind of how I want it. Then I'll show you what it's really doing. Alright, so that looks kind of cool. It's still a little sharp, but if I go back to the polygon mode for this model, you can see that the points are just kind of way out there. So just be aware of that. Since this is going to be a subdivision surface character anyway, it's fine. I don't really mind. Now let's get some inset done on the eyes here. So by extruding in this manner, so like I've selected what's basically his eye, I'm going to do an extrusion and pull this in right here. So this is another way to make edge loops. I'm gonna move some points now. Add some edge loops. Actually, let's turn the live surface for alien head sculpt back on. Now, see, I don't even need to like show it to turn it live again. I can do it from right here. There we go. Alright. Get out of that. Press 3. See how we're coming along here. Okay, those eyes need a lot of work. They're very sharp, as is this mouth, but it's pretty easy to see where this is going. And I'll ask you guys in class if it's helpful to watch me work. I may just record me making the whole thing if you want to sit there and watch all of it. I don't know if you'll find that kind of thing useful, though. It's kind of up to you. Provided I have the time to actually work on finishing this. So I'm trying to prevent what I'm doing here is like, I'll go back and show you exactly what I'm looking at. Okay. So this face right here, these two faces, that's a really long edge compared to his neighbors. So it's a really long stretch. These distances right here, I want to try and even it out. So subdivision surfaces really, the distance between points matters a lot. And if it has to travel too far to reach the next point, going from one point to another, it will really kind of flatten the form out over time. So you kind of want to reach a balance of how far these points are away from each other. Let's kind of make a little bit more loop there. That's kind of a point. And while I'm working on the live mode, you see how it still sticks there? You can still use like soft select and stuff, I believe. Let's see. Turn that on. Yeah, check that out. You can still have soft select going while you're working on a live model. That'll save some time. A little bit more than that, come on. There's no feedback on this slider. Like, I have to actually lift up to actually see how far that's going. There we go. That's gonna need another face for sure. Do I turn that? Yes, I turned that. So what I'm looking at here is if I put my edge loop here, it cuts all the way through, and it's going to change how that ear looks. So I want to see what we're actually looking at here. Okay, it's not too bad, although we're getting some weirdness in there. I don't want to deal with that, so I'm going to undo. And I'm actually going to redirect where this edge flow goes. I'm going to try and send it around to the forehead because I need more edges there too. So let's go back to 1, go to edge mode, and let's send it from here. Go away. Spin edge backwards. Alright, kind of hard to see. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's not the direction. Not the direction I was hoping. Yeah, it went and moved that edge behind the ear. Spin it again. Multi-cut. Nope. Let's turn off soft selection. Oh, there's a menu for it right there. That's easy. Alright. Okay, so that's the default for that edge. Maybe spinning this one? No, that's not a good option. Maybe spinning this one. Almost. Yep, this is the edge right here. So I need to readjust this here because this edge is now going under here, and that's just not right. That's not how that's supposed to work. As you can see, here we go. Press 3, see how that's looking. This little star point, that could be a problem later, that there's ways to fix that. That's looking alright. It's not too bad. Alright, now to add the multi-cut. Come on. Oh, did I lose my spin? Looks like I did. This one here. There we go. Alright, so now if I do a multi-cut, there we go. And that goes across to the forehead. I need to smooth this out now. That got just with the brush is fine. I'm pressing shift to get the smooth brush, not the distortion-free smooth brush. Since it's snapping to a model, it's okay to be kind of aggressive with the smoothing brush. Alright, so that's kind of starting to get a little bit of a pinch there. I'll see about fixing that a little bit later. But I gotta get going, so that's the basics of using quad draw and modeling on top of your sculpt.